Right now, the National 9/11 Memorial and Museum is holding a dedication ceremony for the 9/11 Memorial Glade. It is a new memorial that honors all of those who are suffering or who have died from exposure to toxins following this terrorist attacks. Let's go ahead and listen as they officially open it to the public.
Long after the sun set on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. In the days and months that followed, thousands of people came to the World Trade Center site to take part in the rescue and recovery effort. They came from all over the region, from across the country, and from around the world. Some had friends or family. Some had survived the attacks themselves. Others were volunteers drawn here by a sense of duty or out of the simple kindness of their hearts. For 9 months, they worked tirelessly and selfishly around the clock under conditions that were grim and dangerous. Some searched for survivors and then for remains to bring a measure of solace to grieving families. Others cleared the site. Others distributed food and clothes and cared of the workers who had come to help. They showed the world what is possible when people work together with a common purpose. And like the heroes that we lost on 9/11, their selfless acts provided light that helped guide us through our darkest hours, and they allowed our city to rise again. For some, the end of the recovery was the beginning of an even more difficult journey of sickness and disease. Tragically, not all who labored so valiantly for their city and country in the aftermaths of the attack survived. In the years since 9/11, thousands of people have become ill or died from causes related to the attacks. That group includes many people who participated in rescue and recovery. It also includes people with homes and workplaces in the surrounding area who would not allow terrorists to force them to abandon their communities. It includes students at local schools, children and teenagers who were evacuated from classrooms during the attacks. It includes members of the FDNY, NYPD, the Port Authority and the Port Authority Police Department, and the Departments of Sanitation and Design and Construction, and all the city, state, and federal agencies who played a role in the recovery, along with all the iron workers and construction trades and companies who lent a hand. And it includes volunteers from every walk of life. Many helped lead the fight to make sure that the federal government would care for everyone whose health was affected because of the attacks, even as they fought for their own lives. They truly are heroes. I was lucky to work alongside them as mayor, and we have lost too many of them. Today, we are dedicating this Memorial Glade to all who became sick or died because of causes related to the attacks, and to all the men and women who took part in the rescue and recovery effort that ended on this date 17 years ago. During rescue and recovery work, a central ramp allowed people in the work site. The Memorial Glade now occupies that same spot, I'm happy to say. And as you can see, the Memorial Glade includes a pathway through a tranquil clearing on the 9/11 Memorial Plaza. At one end of the pathway is the survivor tree, which was badly damaged during the 9/11 attacks. Recovery workers saved it and brought it to safety. It has since grown into a symbol of resilience and rebirth. In fact, seedlings from the survivor tree are now growing in cities around the world that have experienced acts of violence or terrorism. Along the pathway, there are 6 granite monoliths thrusting upwards towards the sky. Cracks in the stone were bound with steel from the World Trade Center. The stones and steel are a reflection of the strength that we have drawn from those who helped heal our deepest wounds. The Memorial Glade was designed by Michael Arad and Peter Walker, who also designed the memorial site. Many others gave input to help shape the final design. Friends and families who lost loved ones, people struggling with illness, those who live in the neighborhood, and those who commute to it. The Glade tells their story, and it is a story that, like the 9/11 Memorial, continues to evolve. It must, because the effects of 9/11 are still being felt and being discovered. We have a duty to care for those who need it and to honor the memory of those who died. The Memorial Glade helps us to fulfill that duty. And I hope it will also remind people of the power of service and inspire them to give back in their own ways. And I would like to thank everyone who has helped to make this a reality. In honor of those we lost to illness related to 9/11, let us observe a moment of silence. Thank you. This is a day to remember and pay respects, but it is also a moment to celebrate the people who worked so hard to bring our city back and who set such a powerful example through their sacrifices and perseverance. We are eternally grateful. So please join me in applauding all the people here who contributed to the recovery at the World Trade Center site, and all the members of the community who helped this neighborhood to recover and reach new highs. Governor Andrew Cuomo and his team have done a lot to support the Memorial Glade and to make it possible, and we are joined today by the counsel to the governor, Alfonso David. Alfonso?
Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. Welcome, and on behalf of Governor Cuomo and all New Yorkers, let me thank all of you for being here today. I want to express my gratitude to Mayor Michael Bloomberg for his tireless commitment to this 9/11 museum in the Glade, to Alice Greenwald for her sound stewardship of the memorial, and to the hundreds of advocates, from Jon Stewart to the first responders to the labor unions who fought to make sure that this Glade became a reality. I also want to pay special tribute to the Pfeiffer family, Karen Pfeiffer, Taylor Pfeiffer, and Terrence Pfeiffer. Their brave husband and father, firefighter Ray Pfeiffer, responded to the World Trade Center on September 11th. He worked for months clearing the pile and then fought cancer, even while he actively lobbied Congress to pay the health benefits of first responders. Ray died nearly 2 years ago, and he will always be remembered here in this hallowed place. I want to thank the Pfeiffer family for being here today. Your sacrifice is our sacrifice. No one will or should forget what happened here in New York City on September 11th. It was a day of enormous tragedies, the deadliest attack in our nation since Pearl Harbor. Nearly 3,000 innocent people lost their lives here at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania. Amid that day of horrific tragedy, we also witnessed great bravery and courage. While thousands fled towards those burning towers, first responders like Ray Pfeiffer, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, Port Authority workers ran toward the danger. Common sense told them to run in the opposite direction, but their duty was to protect, and they instead ran toward danger. After the towers came crashing down, thousands of first responders construction workers and volunteers combed through the site despite the toxic fumes coming from the burning wreckage. At a time when we see ourselves as a nation divided, it is important to remember these first responders did not think about themselves as Democrats or Republicans. They didn't see themselves as white or black or Hispanic or Asian. They saw themselves as Americans. And as Americans, they stood together, from rescue to recovery, to eventually clearing the last of the rubble. They completed their work months sooner than expected. And today we remember the day that they finished the job. May 30th, 2002, 17 years ago today, when the last column was removed to mark the end of the cleanup. On the first responders, we have some tragic numbers. FDNY, 343. The Port Authority, 37. The NYPD, 23. That was the death toll among our first responders. The men and women of the fire department, the officers of the Port Authority, and the members of the New York City Police Department who perished. More than 17 years ago, we still feel the pain and the loss as if it was yesterday. They sacrificed their well-being to help others reach safety, to find survivors, and to recover what they could. And we must honor them, not only today, but every day. We have to make sure that this space is sacred. This sacred site reflects their memory. New York State and New York City has contributed to making sure that this museum is a monument to them. And I want to say again, thank you to Michael Bloomberg for having the vision and the tenacity for making it a reality. We are all New Yorkers. We're all New Yorkers, upstate, downstate, California, New York, Florida, Illinois. We believe in each other, and together we will forge a path forward. Let this Glade be a place of solace and a place of hope to many. It is now my privilege to honor and introduce the Pfeiffer family. I would like to ask Karen Pfeiffer and her two lovely children to come to the stage.
You guys are good? Good morning. I came today to help dedicate the Memorial Glade in honor of my husband, firefighter Ray Pfeiffer, a man who used to say, "Do the right thing, even when no one is looking." My name is Karen Pfeiffer, and my husband lost all 12 members of his Manhattan firehouse on 9/11. For him, the guys were family, whether they had been in his firehouse or in another. Like so many of you here today, Ray spent the next 9 months searching and digging at Ground Zero, without being asked, without being told, and without thinking about the consequences. But there were consequences. There was illness and pain and death. And for Ray, that meant his guys and their families were in trouble. He was a first responder who dedicated his life to helping other first responders, to fighting for health care, to safeguarding their families, to making a lot of noise to make sure our country kept its promise to those who brought healing in the aftermath of 9/11. Ray was the best husband and father, so proud of his kids, always there for all of us, cheering us on, making sure we and our whole extended family were safe and taken care of. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that he did that for everyone he felt was family. And in his case, that meant a lot of people. That meant anyone who had worked on the pile, anyone who worked in rescue and recovery after 9/11. We lost Ray 2 years ago from what began as kidney cancer, a result of his work down at the World Trade Center site. I know many of you are suffering through your own nightmares, whether you worked on the pile, lived nearby, or went to school in this neighborhood. Lending each other support, even through the toughest times, finding strength and hope in one another. Ray loved being a firefighter more than he loved anything. And in a way, this glade reminds me of him. It's trees that offer shelter and reach for the sky, providing a place to sit and remember and be together. On behalf of Ray and our children, Terrence and Taylor, and on behalf of all the widows and widowers, I thank you for giving us a place to remember them, a place that honors the work that they did, their courage and their strength. What a beautiful place for our heroes. And Ray, like you said, do the right thing, even if no one is looking. And today, Ray, everyone is looking. Thank you.
At either end of the memorial glade are steel panels. Like guardian sentinels, they stand watch, and they mark the entrances into this sacred place of honor and remembrance. Each bears an identical inscription, which reads as follows: "This memorial glade is dedicated to those whose actions in our time of need led to their injury, sickness, and death. Responders and recovery workers, survivors, and community members suffering long after September 11th, 2001, from exposure to hazards and toxins that hung heavy in the air here and beyond this site, known as Ground Zero, and at the Pentagon and near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks. Here, we honor the tens of thousands from across America and around the world who came to help and to heal, whose selflessness and resolve, perseverance and courage renewed the spirit of a grieving city, gave hope to the nation, and inspired the world. We'll now officially dedicate the Memorial Glade with a performance of taps. At its conclusion, the Memorial Glade will open for the first time. With deepest gratitude for all whose dedication and sacrifice have contributed to the sanctity of this site, it is my great privilege to invite this special community, the people who gave us hope when we needed it most, to be the first to enter. Thank you all for coming together today and for joining us for this historic occasion.
We have been watching the dedication ceremony for the 9/11 Memorial Glade, which honors all of those who are suffering or have died from exposure to toxins following the terrorist attack. The Glade is a pathway. It's adjacent to the memorial self-reflecting pool. It is to be marked by 6 massive 17-ton slabs of granite along the path called monoliths. The memorial is now open to the public. You can see everyone there enjoying that for the first time. You can see more information as well as pictures of the construction on our website, cbsnewark.com.